The email sat in my inbox for 2 days before I opened it. I'd been busy, testifying before the state legislature about judicial security reforms, consulting with the Bar Association on their document fraud task force, and trying to catch up on the backlog of cases that had piled up during Karen's trial. The anonymous message with no subject line looked like spam. I almost deleted it. But something made me click. You stopped one. There are others. 7 words. No signature, no context, sent from a burner email address that bounced through 3 different proxy servers. I had our IT department trace it. Whoever sent it knew how to cover their tracks. I forwarded it to Detective Simmons with a note. Credible threat or paranoid nonsense. She called me 20 minutes later. When did you receive this? Monday night. What? Because we just got a call from Oregon State Police. They're investigating a property fraud case outside Portland. Same pattern. Fake liens, forged court documents, elderly victims. The HOA involved is called Cascade Ridge Community Association. I felt my coffee go cold in my hand. Connected to Whitmore Creek? We don't know yet. But the timing's suspicious. You put Karen away, and suddenly we're hearing about similar schemes in other states. How many other states? So far? 3. Oregon, Idaho, Montana. But if your anonymous friend is right, there could be more. I looked at the email again, those 7 words glowing on my screen like a warning. Someone's trying to tell me this is bigger than we thought. Or someone's trying to scare you, Simmons said. Either way, I'm flagging this for the FBI. Wire fraud across state lines is their jurisdiction. After she hung up, I sat in my chambers and thought about what this meant. Karen hadn't been some lone wolf with a clipboard, she'd been part of something larger. A network. And somewhere in that network, someone was watching me. I pulled up my case files and started looking for patterns. The problem with conspiracy theories is they're usually wrong, right up until they're not. I'd spent 23 years on the bench learning to separate paranoia from evidence, and I wasn't about to start jumping at shadows. But I also wasn't stupid. Karen had forged court orders with official seals. Gail Brennan had processed fake documents through a county recorder's office. That required resources, expertise, and connections. It required infrastructure. I made a list of questions. Who taught Karen how to forge documents? Where did she get the templates? How did she know which properties to target? And most importantly, who else was using the same playbook? My desk phone rang. Internal line, Judge Pemberton's chambers. Margaret, you got a minute? Sure. What's up? Just got a weird call from a clerk in Spokane. She says she recognized the document fraud patterns from the news coverage of your case. Thinks she might be seeing the same thing in her county. I grabbed a pen. What's her name? Jessica Ortiz. She's in the Spokane County Recorder's office. I gave her your number. Hope that's okay. It's more than okay. Thanks, Ron. Jessica called 10 minutes later. She sounded young, nervous, like Amy Delgado had when she'd first reached out to me. Judge Chen, I saw your case on the news. The fake liens, the forged seals, we have something similar happening here. I didn't know who else to call. Tell me everything. She did. A homeowners association called Riverbend Community Partners had been filing liens against properties near their development. The documents looked legitimate, official seals, case numbers, judges' signatures. But when Jessica started checking, she found discrepancies. Case numbers that didn't match the county system. Seals that were slightly off. Signatures that looked traced. How many properties? I asked. At least 8 that I've found. Maybe more. The targets are always the same. Elderly owners, out-of-state investors, people who wouldn't notice right away. And the supervisor who processes these documents. Jessica hesitated. His name is Mark Chen. No relation to you, I assume. He's been with the county for 15 years. Everyone trusts him. I felt ice in my chest. Jessica, I need you to document everything. Every lien, every seal, every signature. Make copies and keep them somewhere safe. Then call Detective Laura Simmons with the Washington State Police. I gave her the number. Tell her I sent you. And be careful. If Mark realizes you're onto him, he might destroy evidence. I'm scared, she said quietly. I know. But you're doing the right thing. And you're not alone. After we hung up, I pulled up a map and marked the locations. Cascade County, Washington. Spokane County, Washington. Multnomah County, Oregon. Ada County, Idaho. Flathead County, Montana. 5 counties. 5 HOA fraud schemes. All within the last 3 years. That wasn't coincidence. That was coordination. Tell me where you're watching from. And has anything like this happened in your city or state? Because what started as one Karen with a clipboard is turning into something a lot bigger and a lot darker. The FBI called on Thursday. Special Agent Marcus Webb, White Collar Crime Division. He had the kind of voice that made you sit up straighter, calm, precise, and completely humorless. Judge Chen, I understand you've been receiving information about related fraud cases in multiple states. That's correct. We'd like to interview you. In person, if possible. When? Tomorrow. Our Seattle field office, 10 a.m. I cleared my schedule. The Seattle FBI office was a concrete fortress downtown, all security checkpoints and bulletproof glass. Agent Webb met me in a conference room on the 8th floor, mid-40s, dark suit, graying at the temples. He had a laptop, 3 file boxes, and a whiteboard covered in names and dates. Thank you for coming, he said. We've been investigating organized property fraud for 18 months. Your case broke it wide open. He pulled up a presentation on the laptop. We believe there's a national network operating across at least 12 states. They target rural properties near HOA developments, file fraudulent liens, then foreclose. The scam nets them an estimated $40 million annually. I stared at the screen. $40 million. Karen Whitmore wasn't the mastermind, Webb continued. She was middle management. We think the network has a central organization, someone providing templates, training, and connections to corrupt county officials. Do you know who? We have a theory. He clicked to the next slide, and a face appeared. Male, 50s, silver hair, expensive suit. Martin Voss. Real estate attorney based in Boise. He specializes in HOA law and municipal compliance. We think he's been recruiting corrupt officials and teaching HOAs how to commit fraud. Voss, I said slowly. Karen's attorney was named Richard Voss. Webb nodded. Martin's younger brother. Richard handles the courtroom work. Martin provides the infrastructure. So arrest them. We're building a RICO case. Racketeering, conspiracy, wire fraud. But we need more evidence. And we need to make sure we get everyone involved, not just the frontline operators. He looked at me. That's where you come in. I didn't like where this was going. I'm a judge, Agent Webb, not an investigator. We know, but you're also a victim, which gives you standing. And you're a public figure now, the judge who beat the HOA scam. If Martin Voss is watching the news, he knows who you are. You want me to be bait. I want you to be visible. Keep consulting on fraud cases. Keep talking to clerks like Jessica Ortiz. If the network thinks you're a threat, they might make a move. And when they do, we'll be watching. I thought about that email. You stopped one. There are others. A warning or an invitation. What kind of move are we talking about? I asked. Webb's expression didn't change. Intimidation, most likely. Maybe harassment. They'll try to scare you into backing off. And if I don't back off, then we see how far they're willing to go. I drove back to Cascade County in the rain, thinking about $40 million and corrupt networks and the kind of people who'd forge a judge's signature without blinking. I'd thought Karen was the worst of it, a vindictive narcissist with a clipboard and too much confidence. But she'd been a cog, a replaceable part in a machine that was still running. And now the machine knew my name. When I got home, I found my mailbox hanging open, the lock pried off. Inside, nothing, just an empty metal box and the faint smell of gasoline. I called Simmons. She sent a deputy and a crime scene tech. They photographed the damage, dusted for prints, found nothing useful. Could be random vandalism, the tech said. Could be, I agreed. But it wasn't. Because that night, I got another email. Same burner address. Same lack of signature. Different message. Stop digging, or you'll find more than you bargained for. I forwarded it to Agent Webb with a note. They're watching. His reply came back in under a minute. Good. Let them. The second warning came disguised as a favor. I was in my courtroom on Monday morning, hearing motions in a child custody case, when my clerk slipped me a note. Judge Arnoldson wants to see you. Says it's urgent. Judge Patricia Arnoldson was the senior member of our circuit, 17 years on the bench, sharp as a tack. and universally respected. She didn't do urgent unless something was actually wrong. I called a recess and walked down to her chambers. Patricia was at her desk, reading glasses perched on her nose, a cup of tea going cold beside her keyboard. She looked up when I came in, and her expression was carefully neutral. "Close the door, Margaret." I did. "What's going on?" "I got a call this morning from the Judicial Conduct Commission. Someone filed a complaint against you." My stomach dropped. "For what?" "Conflict of interest. The complaint alleges that you've been conducting a personal vendetta against HOAs, that you're using your position to intimidate defendants in fraud cases, and that you're collaborating with law enforcement in a way that compromises judicial impartiality." I sat down slowly. "That's insane." "I know, but the complaint is detailed. It cites specific cases, dates, conversations with Detective Simmons and the FBI. Whoever filed this has been watching you." "Who filed it?" "Anonymous. But it came through an attorney, Martin Voss." There it was, the machine pushing back. "Patricia, you know that's retaliation. I'm a victim and a witness in an active federal investigation." "I know, and I told the commission exactly that. But they have to investigate. It's procedure." She took off her glasses and rubbed her eyes. "Margaret, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but you need to be careful. There are people who think you've become too visible, too involved. They're worried you're blurring the line between judge and advocate. I'm consulting on fraud prevention. That's not advocacy." "I agree, but perception matters. If Voss and his network can make you look biased or vindictive, they can undermine every case you touch, including your own." I thought about Karen's trial, the convictions, the restitution fund. All of it could be appealed if someone successfully argued I'd improperly influenced the prosecution. "What do you suggest? Take a step back? Let the FBI do their job. Don't give Voss any ammunition. And if he comes after me anyway?" Patricia's expression hardened. "Then you fight. But you do it smart." I left her chambers feeling like I'd just been put in check. Not checkmate. Not yet. But the board was shifting. Agent Webb called that afternoon. "I heard about the complaint. Word travels fast. Voss is trying to neutralize you. Classic intimidation tactic. Make you toxic, isolate you from the investigation, force you to choose between your career and the case. So what do I do? You keep your head down for now. Let the Conduct Commission do their review. It'll come back clean. You haven't done anything wrong. But in the meantime, we adjust strategy." Meaning we go after the network without putting you in the crossfire. I wanted to argue, but he was right. If I kept pushing, Voss would keep escalating. And eventually, he'd find something that stuck. "Fine," I said, "but I want updates. Every step." "Deal." The next move came from an unexpected direction. I was at home that evening, making dinner, when my phone rang. Unknown number, local area code. I answered. Judge Chen. A man's voice, raspy, unfamiliar. "Yes. My name's Curtis Blake. I used to work for Martin Voss." I set down the knife I'd been holding. "Used to?" "Yeah. I quit last year. Couldn't stomach what he was doing anymore." He paused. "I saw you on the news. The HOA case. I know how they operate. And I know where the bodies are buried." My pulse kicked up. "Mr. Blake, are you willing to testify?" "Maybe. Depends on whether you can keep me alive long enough to do it." "Are you in danger?" "Let's just say Voss doesn't take kindly to loose ends. I've been living off the grid for 8 months. But after I saw your case, I figured, maybe it's time to stop running." "Where are you now?" "Can't tell you that over the phone. But I can meet you. Somewhere public. Tomorrow, noon, the diner on Route 2 outside Wenatchee. Come alone. I'll bring Agent Webb from the FBI." Curtis laughed, sharp and bitter. "You do that, and I disappear. Alone, Judge. Or not at all." He hung up. I stood in my kitchen, staring at my phone, weighing the risks. This could be a trap, or it could be the break we needed. I called Webb and told him everything. "Don't go," he said immediately. "This has setup written all over it. Or it's a genuine whistleblower who's scared. Then let us handle it. We'll send agents." He said alone. "If I show up with backup, he'll bolt. Margaret, I can't protect you if you walk into an ambush. So don't protect me. Just follow me. From a distance. If it's a trap, you'll be close enough to intervene." There was a long silence. You're going no matter what I say, aren't you? Yes. He sighed. Fine. But you wear a wire, and we have eyes on you the whole time. The diner was a truck stop relic from the 70s. Red vinyl booths, laminate tables, a jukebox in the corner that probably hadn't worked since Reagan. I arrived at 11:45, ordered coffee, and took a booth by the window. Curtis Blake showed up at noon exactly. He was maybe 60, thin and weathered, with gray stubble and the kind of eyes that had seen too much. He slid into the booth across from me and ordered coffee without looking at the waitress. You came alone, he said. Mostly. His mouth twitched. FBI in the parking lot. Something like that. Smart. He dumped 3 sugars in his coffee and stirred slowly. Okay, here's what you need to know. Martin Voss runs a consulting firm called Apex Community Solutions. On paper, they help HOAs with compliance and development. In reality, they're a fraud factory. How does it work? Voss recruits corrupt county officials, recorders, clerks, low-level bureaucrats who have access to seals and filing systems. He pays them to process fake documents. Then he partners with HOAs who want to expand or generate revenue. He teaches them how to target properties, file fraudulent liens, and foreclose. The HOA gets the land, Voss gets a cut, and the officials get kickbacks. How big is the network? 12 states, maybe 30 HOAs, 100 officials. Voss has been running it for 5 years. He's pulled in over $50 million. 50. Jesus. Why'd you quit? Curtis looked out the window. Because I watched an old man lose his house. Korean War vet, 92 years old, living on Social Security. Voss filed a fake lien, foreclosed, and kicked him out. The guy died 3 months later in a nursing home. His jaw tightened. I told Voss I was done. He told me if I talked, I'd regret it. So I ran. And now I'm tired of running. And I figure if anyone can take Voss down, it's a judge who beat Karen Whitmore. I leaned forward. Curtis, will you testify? Will you give the FBI everything you know? Names, documents, transactions? He met my eyes. Yeah, but I need witness protection. And I need it yesterday. Done. Agent Webb's outside. Come with me, and we'll get you somewhere safe. For a moment, I thought he'd bolt. Then he nodded, drained his coffee, and stood up. We walked out of the diner together, and I saw Webb's sedan pull up. Curtis got in the back seat without hesitation, and I climbed in beside him. Agent Webb, I said, meet Curtis Blake. Your star witness. Webb looked at Curtis in the rearview mirror. Mr. Blake, I'm placing you in protective custody. You're going to tell us everything. Already planning on it. As we drove away, I looked back at the diner and thought, this is the turning point. Curtis Blake just handed us the key to the entire network. But I had no idea how much Voss was willing to sacrifice to keep that key from turning. Curtis Blake disappeared on Wednesday. I got the call from Agent Webb at 6 in the morning. We have a problem. I was already awake, halfway through my first coffee. What happened? Curtis is gone. We had him in a safe house in Tacoma, 2 agents on rotation. Last night, the night shift agent stepped out for food. When he came back, the door was open and Curtis was missing. Please tell me you're joking. I wish I was. We found his phone on the kitchen table and a note. Tell Judge Chen I'm sorry. They got to me. My blood went cold. They? Voss. Has to be. Someone offered Curtis something. Money, threats, maybe both. And he took it. Or they grabbed him, I said. That note could be coerced. We're checking traffic cams and conducting a grid search. But Margaret. He paused. If Voss knows Curtis was cooperating, he knows we're building a RICO case. And he knows you're the catalyst. Meaning I'm next. Meaning you need protection. I looked around my kitchen. The morning light slanting through the windows. The coffee maker gurgling. The normalcy of it all. I'm not hiding. I'm not asking you to hide. I'm asking you to be smart. Fine. Put a patrol on my house. But I'm not stopping my work. Website. Stubborn doesn't even begin to describe you. I'll take that as a compliment. The protection detail arrived that afternoon. Deputy Foster and a state trooper named Diaz, working 12-hour shifts. Foster set up in an unmarked car at the end of my driveway, while Diaz walked the perimeter and checked the trail cameras. Anything unusual, you call me, Foster said. Don't try to be a hero. I'm a judge, not a cop, I said. Heroism's not in my job description. But that night, lying in bed and listening to the house settle around me, I thought about Curtis Blake's note and the look in his eyes at the diner. He'd been genuinely scared. And now he was gone. If Voss could get to a man in FBI protective custody, what could he do to me? The answer came 2 days later. I was in my chambers, reviewing a sentencing memo, when my clerk knocked. Judge, there's a Detective Reyes from Spokane online too. Says it's about Jessica Ortiz. The clerk from Spokane. The one who'd called about the document fraud in her county. I picked up. Detective Reyes? Judge Chen, I'm sorry to inform you that Jessica Ortiz was found dead this morning. Apparent suicide. The world tilted. What? She was found in her apartment. Overdose, prescription pills. There was a note. I don't believe that, I said flatly. She was helping expose fraud. She wasn't suicidal. The note says she was depressed, overwhelmed by guilt for falsely accusing her supervisor. It's very detailed. Coerced or forged. Reyes hesitated. We're investigating. But Judge, off the record? I agree with you. This doesn't feel right. Who found her? Her supervisor, Mark Chen. He went to check on her after she didn't show up for work. The same supervisor she'd been investigating. Detective, I need you to treat this as a homicide. Seal the apartment, get forensics, pull phone records, and put Mark Chen under surveillance. Judge, I don't have authority to. Then get it. Call the FBI, call Agent Marcus Webb in Seattle. Tell him it's connected to the Voss network. And do it now. I hung up and sat there, staring at my desk, feeling the rage and grief twist together. Jessica Ortiz was dead because she'd tried to do the right thing. Because she trusted me. And I'd sent her into the lion's den. I called Webb. They killed her. I know. Reyes just contacted me. Margaret, we're moving up the timeline. We're going to arrest Voss and his brother this week. What about the rest of the network? We'll get them. But right now, we need to cut the head off the snake before anyone else dies. I want to be there when you arrest him. Not a chance. Webb, you're a witness, not an agent. And if Voss's lawyers can argue you influenced the arrest, the whole case falls apart. Stay home. Let us do our job. He hung up before I could argue. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about Jessica. Young, scared, brave. She'd done everything right. And it had gotten her killed. At midnight, I got out of bed and went to my home office. I pulled up the files from the Whitmore case, the notes from Curtis Blake, the emails from Jessica. I started building a timeline, connecting names and dates and transactions. Martin Voss, Richard Voss, Karen Whitmore, Gail Brennan, Mark Chen, Ed Brennan, Apex Community Solutions, 12 states, 30 HOAs, 100 corrupt officials, $50 million. And somewhere in that web, a list of names, people who'd been targeted, displaced, ruined. People like Eleanor Moss and the Korean War vet Curtis had mentioned. Victims who deserved justice. I was still at my desk when the sun came up and Deputy Foster knocked on my door. Judge, you okay? Fine. Just working. He gave me a look that said he didn't believe me, but knew better than to push. Coffee's on. An Agent Webb called. They're moving on Voss this morning. I grabbed my phone. Where? Boise. 6 a.m. local time. I looked at the clock. That was 20 minutes ago. Any word yet? Foster shook his head. They'll call when it's done. The call came at 7:30. Webb's voice was tight. We have a problem. What kind of problem? Martin Voss is gone. We hit his office and his house. Both empty. Computers wiped. Files cleared out. He knew we were coming. Someone tipped him off. Yeah, someone inside. I closed my eyes. Curtis. Maybe. Or someone else in the network. We're checking burner phones, email logs, travel records. But right now, Voss is in the wind. What about Richard? We got him. He was at his office in Spokane, completely blindsided. He's lawyering up, but he'll flip eventually. Martin's the real target. And if he runs, then we chase him. Interpol, every federal agency, the whole 9 yards. He's not getting away. But as I hung up, I thought, he already has. Because Martin Voss had been planning for this. He'd built a network with escape routes and cutouts and layers of insulation. And when the heat got too close, he'd burned it all down and disappeared, leaving me, and everyone else who'd stood against him, exposed. That afternoon, I got a package. No return address, no postage. Just a plain manila envelope left in my mailbox. Deputy Foster checked it for explosives before letting me open it. Inside, a single photograph. It was me, leaving the courthouse, taken from across the street. Someone had drawn a red X over my face. On the back, a message in block letters. You should have stayed out of it. Foster called Webb immediately. The FBI sent a team to dust for prints and analyze the paper. They found nothing. But the message was clear. Voss, or someone in his network, was watching, and they wanted me scared. Too bad for them. I'd stopped being scared the moment Karen Whitmore forged my signature on a fake deed. Now I was just angry. The FBI moved me to a safe house on Friday. Not because I asked, because Agent Webb showed up at my door at 7 a.m. with 2 U.S. Marshals and informed me that staying at home was no longer an option. We intercepted chatter last night, he said, standing in my living room with his arms crossed. Someone's planning a move against you. We don't know when or how, but the threat's credible enough that I'm not taking chances. What kind of chatter? The encrypted kind. Dark web forums, burner phones. Someone put $50,000 on your head. I sat down slowly. A bounty? You're telling me there's a contract out on me. A loose one. Not professional, more like crowdsourced intimidation. But all it takes is one motivated idiot with a grudge. And you think that idiot's connected to Voss? We know he is. The payment came through a crypto wallet we've been tracking. Same wallet that paid off Mark Chen and funded Karen Whitmore's operation. I looked around my house. The morning light, the coffee maker, the deck where I'd watched the mist roll off the ridge for 5 years. How long do I have to hide? Until we find Voss. Or until we neutralize the threat. One of the marshals, a woman named Torres with a buzz cut and a tactical vest, stepped forward. Judge Chen, we've got a location ready. Secure, off-grid, full surveillance. You'll be safe. And my cases? My docket. Judge Arnoldson's covering for you, Webb said. Officially, you're on medical leave. So I just disappear. For now. I thought about Jessica Ortiz, dead in her apartment. Curtis Blake, missing. Eleanor Moss and all the other victims who trusted the system to protect them. Fine, I said. But I'm not sitting in a safe house doing nothing. I want access to the case files, the network analysis, everything. Webb hesitated. Margaret, I'm the only judge who's seen this from the inside. You need my expertise. Torres glanced at Webb. He sighed. Fine, but you follow our rules. No contact with anyone outside the safe house without clearance. No social media, no phone calls, nothing that can be traced. Deal. The safe house was a cabin in the North Cascades, 2 hours from anything resembling civilization. It had reinforced doors, bulletproof windows, and enough surveillance equipment to monitor a small army. Torres and her partner, a marshal named Kowalski, worked rotating shifts. I spent the first 3 days reviewing files. Webb had sent over everything: case summaries, financial records, intercepted communications, witness statements. I spread it all across the cabin's dining table and started building a map. Martin Voss was a ghost. Born in Idaho, law degree from a mid-tier school, 20 years in real estate law. He'd started Apex Community Solutions in 2019, operating out of Boise with a staff of 12. On paper, it was a legitimate consulting firm. But underneath, it was a criminal enterprise with tentacles in 12 states. The network worked like this. Voss recruited corrupt county officials, usually through personal connections or financial pressure. He provided them with templates for forged documents, liens, deeds, court orders, and access to black market seals and case number generators. Then he partnered with HOAs, teaching them how to identify vulnerable properties and execute foreclosures. The HOAs got the land. Voss got 30% of the proceeds. The officials got kickbacks ranging from $5,000 to $50,000 per transaction. It was elegant, scalable, and almost impossible to detect unless you knew what to look for. But there were cracks. Curtis Blake had given us names before he disappeared. Richard Voss, in custody, was starting to talk. And Jessica Ortiz, before she died, had documented 18 months of fraudulent filings in Spokane. We had enough to indict the network. But without Martin Voss, it was just a body with no head. On the fourth day, Torres knocked on my door. "Judge, you've got a visitor." I looked up from the files. "Who?" "Amy Delgado." Amy Delgado, the clerk from Cascade County who'd first blown the whistle on Gail Brennan and Karen Whitmore. I hadn't seen her since the trial. She was in the cabin's living room, looking nervous, holding a laptop bag. Torres stood by the door, hand near her sidearm. "Amy," I said, "what are you doing here? I'm sorry for showing up like this. Agent Webb gave me the location. He said you'd want to see this." She set the laptop on the table and opened it. "I've been going through old county records, trying to find patterns. And I found something." She pulled up a spreadsheet. "These are property transfers in Cascade County over the last 10 years. Most of them are normal, sales, inheritances, foreclosures. But there's a cluster of transfers that don't make sense." She highlighted 15 entries. These properties were all transferred to private buyers within 6 months of HOA lien filings. The buyers paid cash, well below market value. And within a year, every single one was resold to developers for 2 or 3 times what the buyer paid. "Money laundering," I said. "Exactly. And look at the buyer names." She clicked to another tab. The same name appeared 15 times, Clearwater Holdings, LLC. I traced Clearwater Holdings through the Secretary of State's database. It's a shell company registered in Delaware. And the registered agent is... She clicked again. A name appeared. Martin Voss. I felt a jolt of adrenaline. He's not just running the fraud. He's profiting directly from the resales. And if we can trace the money from Clearwater Holdings, we can find him. I called Webb immediately. He conferenced in an FBI financial analyst, a woman named Chen, no relation, who specialized in white-collar crime. "If Voss is moving money through shell companies, he's using layered accounts," Chen said. "Delaware LLC, offshore trusts, crypto wallets. But every transaction leaves a trail. Give me the account numbers, and I'll follow the money." Amy sent her the Clearwater Holdings records. Chen worked for 6 hours, tracing transfers through 4 countries and a dozen banks. At midnight, she called back. "I found him." We gathered around the laptop. Chen pulled up a bank statement. Clearwater Holdings wired funds to a trust in the Cayman Islands. That trust funds a numbered account in Luxembourg, and that account has been making regular wire transfers to a property management company in Costa Rica. Costa Rica doesn't have an extradition treaty with the U.S., Webb said. "No, but it does have property records." Chen pulled up a real estate database. The management company oversees a private estate in Guanacaste province. Purchased 8 months ago for $4 million. Owner listed as M. Voss. Webb leaned back. "Son of a bitch. He's been planning his exit for almost a year. Can we get him?" I asked. "We can try. I'll coordinate with Costa Rican authorities. But if Voss has connections there, and he probably does, he'll see us coming. Then we need to move fast." Torres stepped forward. "Judge, if the FBI's going after Voss in Costa Rica, the threat against you is about to escalate. His network will know we're closing in. They'll want to tie up loose ends." "You mean they'll come after me harder?" "Yeah." I looked at the map on Chen's screen. Costa Rica, a dot on the Pacific coast. Martin Voss hiding in a compound behind walls and guards. "Let them come," I said, "because I'm done hiding." Webb gave me a look. "Margaret, I'm not a target, Marcus. I'm bait. Use me." He was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded. "Okay, but we do this my way." The plan was simple, dangerously so. I'd return to Cascade County, resume my normal routine, and act as bait. If Voss's network made a move, the FBI and marshals would be waiting. Webb called it a controlled exposure. I called it painting a target on my back and hoping the shooters missed. But I was done playing defense. I left the safe house on Tuesday morning, escorted by Torres and Kowalski. We took a circuitous route back to Cascade County, 3 hours of back roads and highway switches to shake any potential tails. By the time we pulled into my driveway, I'd counted 4 unmarked FBI vehicles and at least 2 sniper positions in the tree line. Webb was waiting on my porch. "Welcome home," he said. Your security details in place. Cameras on every approach, agents in rotation, and a panic button in every room. He handed me a small device that looked like a car key fob. You press this, and we come running. How long do we wait? However long it takes. Voss knows we're closing in on him. His network's fractured, Richard's talking, Curtis is still missing, and half the county officials are lawyering up. He's going to want to send a message. And I'm the message. You're the symbol. The judge who broke his operation. If he can hurt you, he proves he's still in control. I looked out at my land. The trees, the ridge where I'd watched the mist roll off countless mornings. Then let's give him the opportunity. The first 48 hours were silent. I went back to work at the courthouse, hearing motions and signing orders under the watchful eyes of plainclothes agents. Judge Arnoldson pulled me aside during lunch. You look terrible. Thanks, Patricia. You always know what to say. I'm serious. You've got shadows under your eyes, and you're jumping every time a door closes. Maybe you should extend your medical leave. Can't. I've got 20 cases backlogged and a federal investigation that needs my input. She studied me. The Conduct Commission cleared you, by the way. They found the complaint was filed in bad faith, likely as retaliation. Martin Voss's name is all over it. Good. One less thing to worry about. Margaret. She paused. Be careful. I've been doing this job for 17 years, and I've never seen anything like what you're up against. Neither have I. That night, I came home to find Deputy Foster waiting in my driveway. Everything okay? I asked. Yeah, just wanted to check in. You've had a lot of eyes on you today. FBI's orders. I figured. He hesitated. Judge, off the record? I'm sorry I didn't take your case more seriously at the start. When you first called about the cabins, I should have. You came when it mattered, I said. That's what counts. He nodded, looking relieved. You need anything, you call me. I don't care what time. I will. Thank you. I went inside, locked the door, and set the panic button on my kitchen counter. Then I poured a glass of wine and sat on my deck, watching the sunset and waiting for the other shoe to drop. It dropped on Thursday night. I was in bed, half asleep, when I heard glass breaking downstairs. Not a window, something smaller. I grabbed the panic button and pressed it, then reached for my phone. Before I could dial, the power went out. The house went black. No lights, no hum of the refrigerator, nothing. I heard footsteps on the stairs, heavy, deliberate, multiple people. I rolled out of bed and moved toward the closet, phone clutched in my hand. The screen's glow felt like a spotlight. My bedroom door slammed open. A flashlight beam hit me in the face. Behind it, a figure in dark clothes and a ski mask. Don't move, a man's voice said. I froze. Who are you? Doesn't matter. You're coming with us. Like hell I am. He stepped forward, and I saw the gun in his other hand. Judge, we can do this easy or hard. Your choice. My mind raced. The panic button was activated. Torres and the FBI were on their way. I just had to stall. Martin Voss sent you, I said. The man laughed. Voss doesn't get his hands dirty. We're contractors, and you're worth 50 grand. So let's go. 50 grand split how many ways? 3, 4? That's not much for kidnapping a federal witness. Another figure appeared in the doorway. Stop talking and grab her. The first man moved toward me, and I did the only thing I could think of. I threw my phone at his face. It hit him square in the nose. He stumbled back, cursing, and I bolted for the bathroom, slamming the door and locking it. Break it down, someone shouted. I heard them ramming the door. The frame cracked. I looked around wildly. Bathroom window, too small to climb through. No weapons except a toilet plunger and my own rage. The door splintered open, and then I heard the most beautiful sound in the world. FBI? Drop your weapons. Gunfire erupted downstairs. Shouting, footsteps pounding, the crash of furniture. I crouched in the bathtub, hands over my head, and waited. 3 minutes later, Torres kicked in the bathroom door, gun drawn. Judge Chen. Here. I'm here. She pulled me out of the tub and hustled me downstairs. The house was chaos, shattered glass, overturned chairs, 3 men in zip ties face down on the living room floor. Webb stood over them, looking furious. You okay? He asked me. Shaken, but yeah. He turned to the men on the floor. You just assaulted a federal judge and walked into an FBI sting. You're looking at 20 years minimum. So start talking, and maybe, you get a deal. The first man, the one I'd hit with my phone, spat blood. We don't know anything. We got paid through crypto, got an address and a timeline. That's it. Who paid you? Don't know. Anonymous contact on a dark web forum. Webb pulled out his phone and made a call. Chen, it's me. We've got 3 contractors in custody. I'm sending you their phones and wallets. Trace everything. Crypto transactions, message boards, geolocation data. I want to know who hired them. He hung up and looked at me. You're not staying here tonight. Agreed. Torres drove me back to the safe house. We didn't talk much, just the low hum of the engine and the darkness rolling past the windows. When we arrived, Kowalski had coffee waiting. Rough night, he said. You could say that. I sat at the table, hands wrapped around the mug, and felt the adrenaline finally start to drain. My phone buzzed, a text from Webb. Chen traced the crypto payment. It came from an account in Panama linked to Clearwater Holdings. Voss is behind this, and he's getting desperate. I texted back, good. Desperate people make mistakes. The next morning, Amy Delgado called. Judge, I found something else. I put her on speaker. What is it? I've been cross-referencing property records with HOA filings, and I found a pattern. Every property Clearwater Holdings bought and resold, the developers who purchased them are all subsidiaries of the same parent company, Ridgeline Development Group. Who owns Ridgeline? That's the thing. It's buried under layers of LLCs and trusts. But I traced it back to a trust in the British Virgin Islands. And the beneficiary is listed as Martin Voss and someone named Elena Voss. His wife? I don't think so. I checked marriage records. Martin's been divorced for 10 years. But Elena Voss shows up on property records, business filings, even as a co-signer on bank accounts. She's not just connected to him. She's his partner. I felt a chill. We've been looking for one person, but it's 2. And there's more. Elena Voss owns a property management company in Costa Rica, the same one that oversees Martin's estate. But she also owns properties in 3 other countries, Belize, Panama, and Portugal. She's his escape network. If one location gets compromised, they move to the next. Exactly. I called Webb immediately. We've got a second target, Elena Voss. She's Martin's partner in his exit strategy. If we want to find him, we need to find her first. Webb was quiet for a moment. Chen's already on it. We're running financial traces on every account connected to Elena. But Margaret, if she's as embedded in this as Martin, she's going to be just as hard to catch. Then we make her come to us. How? By hitting what she cares about. Money. We freeze every account, every shell company, every property. We make it impossible for them to access their assets. And when she surfaces to protect her nest egg, we grab her. Webb exhaled slowly. That's actually not a bad idea. I'll talk to the AG's office about asset seizure orders. Do it fast, because the longer we wait, the deeper they dig in. The asset freeze went into effect on Monday. Federal judges in 3 jurisdictions signed orders seizing over $80 million in accounts, properties, and holdings linked to Martin and Elena Voss. Clearwater Holdings, Ridgeline Development, and a dozen other shell companies were locked down overnight. Webb called me with an update. We just got a hit. Someone tried to access a frozen account in Panama, Elena Voss. She used a laptop at a hotel in Guanacaste, same province as Martin's estate. They're together. Looks like it. Costa Rican authorities are moving in. We've got an extradition request filed, and if they resist, we'll coordinate with Interpol. How long? 72 hours, maybe less. I sat back, feeling the pieces finally coming together. We've got them. Almost. Don't celebrate until they're in handcuffs. But that night, I let myself feel hopeful. For the first time in weeks, I slept without nightmares. And then, on Wednesday morning, everything went sideways. The call came at dawn. Margaret, it's Webb. We have a situation. I was already awake, coffee in hand, watching the sun rise over the mountains. What happened? Costa Rican police raided the estate in Guanacaste. They found the property manager, security staff, housekeepers, everyone except Martin and Elena Voss. My stomach dropped. They're gone. They left sometime yesterday. The property manager said they got a call warning them about the asset freeze and took a private boat out of Puerto Carrillo. We've got the Coast Guard and Interpol searching, but they had a 12-hour head start. Yeah. I set my coffee down carefully. Where would they go? Elena owns property in Belize, Panama, and Portugal. Could be any of them. Or none. They could be heading somewhere completely off the grid. Then we need to cut off their resources. No money, no safe houses, nowhere to hide. We're working on it. But Margaret, there's something else. I didn't like his tone. What? Richard Voss posted bail this morning. How? He's facing federal racketeering charges. His lawyer argued he's not a flight risk. He has ties to the community, no prior record, and he's cooperating with the investigation. The judge bought it. Richard walked out of jail an hour ago. And you think he's going to run? I think he's going to try to contact his brother. We've got surveillance on him. But if he makes contact, we'll know where Martin is. Or Martin will know you're watching Richard and disappear for good. Webb was quiet. It's a risk. It's more than a risk. It's a mistake. I stood up, pacing. Richard's a lawyer. He knows how to communicate without being traced. If he tips off Martin, we'll lose them both. So what do you suggest? Bring Richard in. Violate his bail. Charge him with obstruction, whatever it takes. But don't let him walk around free while his brother's in the wind. I'll talk to the prosecutor. But Margaret, even if we grab Richard, that doesn't tell us where Martin is. No, but it tells him we're not backing off. And eventually, he'll make a mistake. The mistake came sooner than expected. On Thursday afternoon, FBI analyst Chen called with an update. Judge Chen, we intercepted an email sent from a burner account to one of Martin Voss's old business contacts. It was encrypted, but we cracked it. It's a request for a wire transfer, $200,000 to a bank in Belize City. He needs cash. Exactly. The asset freeze is working. He's running out of money. Can you trace the email? We're trying. But it bounced through servers in 6 countries. Best we can tell, it originated somewhere in Central America. Belize, then. He's in Belize. Maybe. Or he wants us to think he is. I thought about it. No. He wouldn't ask for money unless he really needed it. He's desperate, and desperate people don't run sophisticated misdirection plays. He's in Belize. Webb agreed. I'm coordinating with Belizean authorities. We'll have assets on the ground within 24 hours. I want to be there. Absolutely not. Webb. Margaret, you're a witness, not an agent. And if something goes wrong, I'm not explaining to the Attorney General why I brought a federal judge into a foreign arrest operation. Then make me an observer. Consultative capacity. I know this case better than anyone. He sighed. You're not going to let this go, are you? Not a chance. Fine. But you stay in the command vehicle, you follow orders, and if I say jump, you ask how high. Deal. We flew into Belize City on Friday night. The FBI had set up a command post in a nondescript office building near the waterfront, coordinating with Belizean police and Interpol. Webb briefed me on the way in. We've got eyes on 3 properties linked to Elena Voss, a condo in Belize City, a beach house in Placencia, and a small estate outside San Ignacio. Belizean police are running surveillance on all 3. Which one's most likely? The estate. It's remote, gated, and it's registered under a shell company Elena used for other properties. If they're hiding, that's where they'd go. We arrived at the command post at midnight. The room was full of agents, analysts, and Belizean officers, all huddled around laptops and radios. On a wall-mounted screen, I saw aerial footage of a compound, white stucco walls, red tile roof, surrounded by jungle. Webb pointed to the screen. That's the San Ignacio estate. Thermal imaging shows 2 people inside. We're moving in at 0400. 2 people. Martin and Elena? We think so, but we won't know until we're inside. I watched the thermal signatures move through the house. 2 glowing shapes, pacing, sitting, moving between rooms. They looked nervous. Good. At 3 a.m., the tactical team geared up, Belizean police in body armor, FBI agents in tactical vests, everyone checking weapons and comms. Webb put on a vest and looked at me. You stay here. Watch the feed. If anything goes wrong, you get on a plane and go home. Nothing's going wrong. Famous last words. The convoy left at 3:30. I watched on the screen as they approached the estate, headlights off, moving through the jungle in a line of black SUVs. They parked a quarter-mile out and moved in on foot. At 4 a.m. exactly, they breached the gate. Go, go, go. I watched the feed. Officers streaming into the compound, flashlights cutting through the darkness, shouting in Spanish and English. The thermal signatures inside the house scattered. Front door breached. 2 suspects, second floor. Moving to intercept. And then, chaos. Gunfire. Brief, sharp cracks on the audio feed. Someone screaming. More shouting. Suspect down. Suspect down. My heart stopped. Which suspect? Webb's voice came through the radio, breathless. Male, mid-50s, silver hair. It's Martin Voss. He pulled a gun, and Jesus. Is he alive? Barely. Medics are on him. Female suspect secured. Elena Voss. In custody, no injuries. I exhaled slowly. He's alive. For now. But he's critical. We're airlifting him to a hospital in Belize City. An hour later, I stood in a hospital waiting room, watching through a window as doctors worked on Martin Voss. He was unconscious, hooked to machines, blood bags hanging beside the bed. Elena Voss sat in an interrogation room down the hall, stony-faced, refusing to talk. Webb appeared beside me. He's stable. They think he'll make it. Good. I want him to stand trial. He will. Both of them will. And with Richard cooperating and Elena's financials, we've got enough to dismantle the entire network. I looked at the man on the hospital bed, the architect of a $50 million fraud scheme, the person responsible for Jessica Ortiz's death, Curtis Blake's disappearance, and countless families losing their homes. How many people did he hurt? I asked quietly. Hundreds. Maybe more. We're still identifying victims. And how many got justice? Webb was quiet for a moment. More than there would have been if you hadn't fought back. We flew home the next day. The news broke within hours. Fugitive attorney Martin Voss captured in Belize. Judge at center of case present for arrest. My phone exploded with messages. Reporters camped outside my house. Judge Arnoldson called to congratulate me and warn me that I'd be famous for all the wrong reasons. But I didn't care. Because 3 weeks later, Martin and Elena Voss were extradited to the United States. Richard Voss took a plea deal and testified against them both. Curtis Blake surfaced, alive, hiding in Montana, ready to testify. And the Attorney General announced a federal task force to investigate property fraud schemes nationwide. The trial was set for the following year. But in the meantime, victims started coming forward. Eleanor Moss, the Korean War vet's family, families from Oregon, Idaho, Montana, and a dozen other states. People who'd been stolen from, and who were finally going to see justice. I returned to my bench in Cascade County. My land was quiet again. No cabins, no trucks, no Karens with clipboards. Just trees, ridge, creek, and the morning mist I'd fallen in love with 5 years ago. One morning in November, I stood on my deck with coffee and watched the sun rise, and I thought about the email that had started this. You stopped one. There are others. They'd been right. But now the others were falling too. My phone buzzed. A text from Amy Delgado. Just got word. 6 more county officials arrested this morning in connection with the Voss network. Your case broke everything wide open. Thank you. I smiled and texted back. No? Thank you. None of this happens without whistleblowers like you. I set my phone down and looked out at my land. My 40 acres, my sanctuary, my home. Karen Whitmore had tried to steal it with fake documents and a forged signature. She'd thought she was untouchable. She'd thought the system would protect her. She was wrong. And Martin Voss, sitting in a federal detention center awaiting trial, had just learned the same lesson. You don't mess with someone who knows the law, especially when that someone's a judge. Thanks for sticking with this story. If you've ever dealt with corruption, fraud, or a system that protected the powerful over the victims, drop a comment. And remember, justice isn't always fast, but when it comes, it's absolute.